Hey, what's up guys, it's Blake, and today we're going to be reviewing the 5th studio album by American alternative rock and emo band Brand New, called Science Fiction, out on Procrastinate Music Traitors. This is a follow-up to 2009's Daisy, which marks an 8-year gap between albums, and this is probably one of the most anticipated records of the year, and definitely one of the biggest as well. This album has sort of been a mess of lucid and vague hints and speculation based on the band's secretive approaches on what they tell and what they don't tell their fans exactly what they're doing. The original hiatus after Daisy resumed in 2014, and the album was slated for a late 2016 release, but then was postponed indefinitely until they just decided to basically pull Beyonce and drop the album without letting anybody know. And as expected, the internet blew up, and here we are doing this review. This is more than likely Brand New's last album, as they confirmed that they'll be breaking up in 2018, but this album is definitely special. I haven't always been able to connect with Brand New, but over the past year or so I've managed to get more and more into their music, and this album is really what I needed from them to sort of cement that love for them. This record is pretty dark, it's dim, it's dreary, and even creepy and grim in some places as well. It definitely lives up to that science fiction name and is the perfect progression of the band to really end it for them. This feels like a funeral record, to be honest, and you can tell Lacey has reached that point of closure on a lot of these songs, and that's a lot of the places where death and self-hatred is constantly mentioned. It's really the perfect way to go out for them, so let's get into this track list and talk about each individual one. The album opens up with Lit Me Up, which is my favorite track on the album. It opens up with a recorded therapy session where a patient recounts the dream she's been having. This sequence is eerie, to say the least, but the song that follows it enhances that original feeling. The instrumentation is very fluid and very watery. There's lots of lower frequencies tied into Jesse's vocals, and it's just very bass heavy. There's a lot of ambient noise going on as well. It's a really slow moving track that focuses on the atmosphere mostly. And Lacey's vocals are haunting, to say the least here, and lyrically this is one of the tracks on the album to talk about therapy and kind of self-hatred as a focal point, and it really becomes a theme for the rest of the album. This is also the first fire and water metaphors we get on the album that will constantly repeat themselves. These lyrical themes get more and more complex as the album goes on, but overall this is a great start. Next up is Can't Get It Out, which is one of the first of many tracks on the album about Brand New themselves. This one seems to be about Jesse's writing and how he intends Brand New to be something positive, but everything always turns out gloomy and dreary. It's really about the sadness that is ingrained into Jesse and how he can't get it out of him, and it keeps coming along every time he writes. This song is also filled with a ton of biblical imagery, as much of other Brand New songs are as well, specifically towards Jesus here. It's an interesting theory and comparison when you look at it over the course of Brand New's life as a band. Instrumentally, it's a pretty basic Brand New type of song. I really like the acoustic guitar and how it mixes with the overdriven one. It gets a little messy in the mix near the end, but I really like that stylistic choice as well. Next is Waste, which seems to be a song about learning where you went wrong in your past and making an attempt to fix that. The entire song focuses on how the band has grown and Jesse's relationship with what he knows is Brand New. The pre-chorus makes some references to DeGosser off of The Devil and God, which with the Take Your Head Apart line. I really love this album because there's so much to dissect in the lyricism. It contrasts so well with the instrumentation going on, and this is another song that really depends on a lot of the production to get its mood across. There's a ton of distorted clipping that seems very contradictory against the acoustic guitar that acts as really the backbone of the song. It's another really messy and chaotic mix, but cleans up really well too. Next is Could Never Be Heaven, an exclusively acoustic track that questions the idea of salvation. This track is a possible reference to You Won't Know from The Devil and God, again where Jesse mentions that husband and wife cannot be together in heaven. This song is basically stating the opposite and could come from a Mormon style belief that spouses stay together after they die. He is after all married to a Mormon woman. I may be going out on a limb on that one, but it seems it's a response and growth from that era. For the most part on this track, Jesse is singing in a very monotone style that never really deviates away from that low and droning tone, despite the part of the song and the emotion needing to be conveyed. The acoustic guitar is again the backbone of the song, and the other more ambient guitar tones fit really well over it. Those cleans really swirl while the woody tones set the basis. It's a very interesting mix, but I like it. Next is Same Logic / Keith, a song that seems to be about self-depreciation and hating yourself. It goes right into coping methods, especially self-harm. The entire first verse is solely about slitting your wrist, and despite thinking it'll help, it just makes it all worse. The entire song plays off this failure to make things better and is really heavy once you get down to it. I especially like the song because Jesse is using a variety of vocal techniques throughout. He screams a little bit, uses the monotone style, dramatically buffs out his voice in some parts, and even works in some falsetto in. The instrumentation is another really interesting one as well. Some of the synths being used throughout this record straight up contrast directly with the other instruments. Those synths make the transition into the teeth section of the song a little stark and a little surprising. I'm not a huge fan of it here, but overall it's a great song. The album closes its first half with 137, which oddly reminds me of a very Nirvana styled song. It's almost like Brand New is doing their best heart-shaped box impression. This song is especially grim and focuses on the end of the world and how a god wouldn't give its creation the ability to end itself via nuclear means. The chorus is sarcastically all about how we should love nuclear war because it gives us a means to die faster and quicker. I assume this is meant to be a little tongue-in-cheek because of how fucking scary that is, but it is brand new and extremely depressing, so it's possibly meant to be taken at face value. The possible darkest song on the album because of this, and I love how the instrumentation reflects that really deep hopelessness that the lyrics exhibit. The first two times we hear the chorus, it's really devoid of life, but once we hear the third with all the instrument all there, it's very powerful. It's definitely a favorite. The album opens up its second half with Out of Mana, which is probably my least favorite track on the album. I know a lot of people who are really into the video game imagery in the song, but I don't really think it matches a lot of the moods going on throughout it. I can't help but really not feel emotionally affected by a lot of these lines, especially the ones about quests, player one, and infinite lives, even though they do hold a lot of meaning in the metaphors. However, my favorite line in this song is definitely the hell is digital line. I want to say its meaning is that hell is man-made, which is a very interesting concept. But instrumentally, I love the guitar solo in this song. It's very disjointed and very chaotic. The wah tone is tight and really sounds like noise, but there's a distinct musicality in it. I'm very into that part of the song, but overall, not so much. Next up is In the Water, another not so great track to me. I just don't have any strong feelings on this track, honestly. I'll listen to it, I'll enjoy it, but there's nothing that really stick out to me and was like, wow, that was awesome. There are a lot of smaller things on this one that I do really like, but nothing that really jumps out. The organ and the guitar parts are cool. They have a lot of southern influence and remind me of a lot of the stuff that was off of Daisy, which makes sense considering the ending pulls from the intro of that song. The main acoustic guitar has a really distinct twang as well that is really strong in that southern style. The harmonica is cool too, but I guess it just feels like an anomaly on the record. Nothing else is really similar, so it sticks out a lot. Next up is Desert, a song that seems to be about modern day bigotry and how people use their religion as a guise to hide behind. It seems to speak from a father's perspective about how he won't let his son be gay, and if he is, he'll drown him in the lake first. It calls homosexual relationships an abomination. Then it turns to immigration and how people shouldn't be let into the United States. The chorus focuses on one point, and that is when the world ends, don't come to him for help if you're a sinner. It's obviously not spoken from Jesse's actual beliefs, as he's kind of noted as an ally of the LGBTQ+ family. I think it's more of a lesson and a statement on how hate is wrong. Instrumentally, this is probably one of my favorite songs on the album. The guitar parts have such an interesting tonal and modal structure. It's definitely unique and definitely nice to hear. Next is No Control, which seems pretty straightforward. It seems like a song about just not having control of your own life and the world in general. My favorite part of this track is the really fuzzy and blistering guitar. It's one of the few places on the album where we get to hear some heavier instrumentation. I find it really interesting that it's contrasted with a lot of other parts that are clean and just really thin. It's another song that attempts to be really haunting, but I think a lot of it gets lost in the heavier style of instrumentation. It's another track that really doesn't connect with me as much as I would want it to, but I still really enjoy it. The ending of the song is also pretty creepy, slightly unsettling. Second to last on the album is 451, which I believe is a reference to the Bradbury novel Fahrenheit 451, and if you're wondering, 451 is the temperature at which paper burns. I want to say this entire song is a reference to society and all of its issues and how that affects the humanity of it. From the lines about television controlling your thoughts, to the chorus about never being satisfied with material things, and generally just a feeling of emptiness in modern life. This is probably my favorite song instrumentally. The guitar in this song is wild. That riff is probably the most iconic piece of writing I've ever heard from Brand New in terms of guitar. There's just something so badass about it. The entire song just has this swagger to it, and I definitely like this more aggressive version of Brand New, and I wish we got more of it on this record because they kick ass at it. The album closes with Batter Up, a song that seems to be about the chances that you could have taken and what could have happened. This is honestly the saddest song on the album for me. The notion of what if is probably the most depressing thing in the world because there's no closure for it and you can do absolutely nothing to change it. The instrumentation perfectly reflects this mood. It's the perfect somber complement to the lyricism. Overall, I think this song is about moving on and ties in so well with the album title. The album was shipped with coordinates to Devil's Tower, which was a massive filming location of the Close Encounters of the Third Kind. A movie where the protagonist consents to being abducted by aliens to go on this huge grand adventure. I believe this song is Jesse saying he's being abducted, which would explain the alien references in the second verse and kind of the ambient and weird ending to the song. And this is about taking chances on the rest of his life with the opportunities he never got growing up. It's really the curtain call on Brand New summed up in about 8 minutes, and it really signifies the end of everything associated with Brand New. Overall, I think this album is really Brand New's masterpiece. It encompasses so many themes that their back catalog is praised for, and transforms them and matures them into something that can be applied to the modern day Jesse Lacey. It seems as if everything has come together in this album, and that's what makes it special for me. It almost feels cinematic. It's a very long record, about an hour, but it feels like a Hollywood ending, even though it's the most grim and eerie ending possible. This album isn't so much about the technical performance, but the continuation of what they've done and bringing closure to that. There are great tracks on here and some really special ones that I feel like is very deserving of a 9 out of 10. I'm excited about it, and we'll see what actually comes of Brand New in the future and what happens with this crazy scenario. But definitely let me know what you think of the album in the comments below, and we'll talk about it. We'll share ideas and whatnot. But thank you so much for watching.